I'm Dr. Samuel Acuff, research scientist at the Recovery Research Institute in the Department of Psychiatry at Massachusetts General Hospital. I'm here with Dr. John Kelly, the founder and director of the Recovery Research Institute and a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. How's it going, Dr. Kelly?
Good. Nice to see you.
Good. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that you have a lot of passion for. You've done a lot of research on, and that is mutual help organizations. Can you tell me a little bit about mutual help organizations?
Yeah, mutual help organizations essentially are organizations where people come together who typically have the same problem or same type of problem to share their experience with each other and inspire each other towards positive adaptive health behavior change, broadly speaking. So they're typically people with the same problem who come together and find great solace and solidarity in doing that. It's also very therapeutic. So this happens, of course, across the board in many different types of illnesses, more purely medical illnesses as well as psychiatric illnesses, and very notably in addiction. So there's a long history of these types of organizations dating back to the 1800s, actually, in the United States, which started back then, again, with people coming together with oftentimes very stigmatized conditions so that they can find support from one another and find healing and recovery. But probably the most well-known in the current era would be Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the largest, by far the largest and oldest recovery support service, actually, in the world, as well as the largest and oldest mutual help organization. The reason being, of course, is alcohol is very prevalent. Most addiction cases are alcohol addiction. And so it has a long history dating back to the 1930s. And there's a very rich and pervasive body of evidence now supporting the utility of Alcoholics Anonymous as a pathway to sustained remission recovery from severe alcohol addiction. So that's one example of that probably people have heard of that we know most about.
What are some others that are like Alcoholics Anonymous, or other examples of mutual help organizations that people might hear or might be interested in learning more about?
Yeah, well, the good news is there is a much larger repertoire now of options, mutual help organization options available for people. It's really started in the last 30 or 40 years, either inspired by or sometimes in opposition to AA, that they wanted a different flavor of recovery that didn't really fit their mode of recovery in AA. Or in 12-step organizations more broadly. And of course, AA is not the only 12-step organization. There's myriad others like Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous. There's pretty much any type of psychoactive substance use disorder. There is an anonymous 12-step organization that is designed to address it. As well as behavioral, Gamblers Anonymous, for example, for behavioral addiction. But there are many now non-12-step, like Smart Recovery, which is a cognitive behavioral group organization. Again, the same kind of setup in terms of having peers with lived experience, sharing with each other their pathway and their experiences in recovery, but with a cognitive and behavioral element thrown in. So it adopts and implements kind of best practices from clinical realms and helps to disseminate that in the community to the benefit of those who could benefit from that in terms of relapse prevention skills. There are other entities like LifeRing. LifeRing Secular Organization is a secular alternative to AA. There are very religious recovery groups called, for example, Celebrate Recovery is a very explicitly religiously focused recovery organization, mutual help organization designed for people who have a substance use disorder or other kinds of mental health problem that wants to utilize a Christian-focused mutual help organization, for example. So there's both secular, spiritual, religious, all different kinds of flavors of these. There's one specifically for women called Women for Sobriety, which is another one that's quite old, started in the 1970s. designed explicitly for women, which people can access online or in person. There are other ones in the more Buddhist realm, so talking about a different flavor of religious orientation called Dharma recovery and refuge recovery, which again, it's a matter of finding the right fit, because we know that people like to find something that's a good fit for their own particular experience.
Yeah, it sounds like for whatever people are struggling with and whatever they're kind of looking for, there might be a group out there for them.
Yeah, I think so. And increasingly now with online accessibility and resources, so there's all kinds of things that that people utilize. You know, tens of thousands of people are utilizing all kinds of different things online as well. The ones I've mentioned are the more bricks and mortar type that have online options, but they really started as online in-person versions, those groups, and have online versions, of course, of those meetings and groups. But there's ones that have developed purely in the digital era that have just online options without versions without in-person groups. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there a cost to mutual?
Typically, it's just voluntary contributions in most of these, so they're freely available and accessible. They're usually volunteer run by the peers themselves. So that's how they initially started. That 12-step model was really the model that was copied, and so it became a freely accessible and available resource that could be accessed over the long term. Which is important when we think about recovery from a substance use disorder, particularly at the moderate to severe end, because susceptibility to relapse and recurrence of these disorders really exists over not just many weeks or months, but over many years. You know, up through the first 5 years, we see an elevated risk for recurrence of these disorders, much higher than the general population in terms of meeting criteria for one of these disorders in the following year. So people need support. There's a lot of repair work that Mother Nature has to do. So it's important to provide the right kind of recovery conducive and supportive environments that people can access to be able to support that long-term recovery, because typically that's what it takes, both in terms of within the person, all the neurophysiological reparation that has to occur, but then also the lifestyle adoption. So the lifestyle adoption that people need to adopt to be able to sustain that over time. And this is a key factor in recovery. And mutual help organizations are very good at doing that, because you can self-regulate the intensity and extensity of exposure to and involvement in these groups as you go along. So you can turn it up or down because they're flexible and available in the communities in which people live and work, and they're freely available.
Yeah. Really excellent resource that seems to be varied and available for different people looking for different options, and also in different amounts. So if someone was interested in learning more about mutual help organizations, where's the best place to look?
Well, one place, you can Google, of course, any of these organizations and find their website. On those particular mutual help organization website, you'll find a lot of information, most notably the listings for in-person meetings and online meetings, as well as information about the organization. We also, at recoveryanswers.org, that's the website for the Recovery Research Institute, we have a listing there and a description of all of these different mutual help organization entities as well. So Google them, as well as go to recoveryanswers.org. You'll find out more about them there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.